Tips from a small claims court judge coming up right after this.
Yes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mr. Small Claims Court YouTube channel. I'm Jordan Farkas, very grateful to have you. For those who have subscribed and are returning, thank you very much for subscribing. For those who haven't yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a future video just like this to help you win in small claims court. If you want to learn a bit more about me, you can check out my bio video on the homepage of Mr. Small Claims Court YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a bit different than the past ones that I've done. I stumbled across a video on how to win in small claims court, and it was interesting to me because it featured an interview of a judge of the small claims court, in this case based in Arizona. But that doesn't matter because the point is that the things that the judge was saying are a lot of the things that I had talked about in earlier videos. So aside from just vindicating my ego for you, my audience, it's also important to see that when I'm talking to you about certain principles of how to win in small claims court, this is something that can be applied to many small claims courts around the world. And it's also helpful to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Okay, now obviously as a retired small claims court lawyer, I hope I have some street cred for you, if you will. But obviously, somebody who's an actual judge who's hearing cases all the time, I think it really emphasizes a lot of the points that I've been making in earlier videos. So I want to jump in. I'm going to try sharing my screen, which again is a different format than I'm used to. And let's see how this works out. Okay, so here's the video. This is something I saw from one of the news outlets in Arizona. And this is a judge here who's talking about what it takes to win in small claims court. And notice the first thing that he says. I'm just going to play it for you. I hope you can hear the audio, and it goes something like this.
Take the emotional element out of the case. If people get too emotional, we go off the sidetracks and then we lose what the focus should be on.
So notice what the judge said over here. Take the emotional element out of the case. Okay, now I've talked about this at length in videos that oftentimes what wins you in small claims court is not necessarily the substance of your arguments, your case, if you will. Oftentimes it's simply your demeanor, how you appear in front of the judge, because the judge is a human being and the judge is taking a look at both parties, both you, assuming you're the plaintiff in this case, and the defendant, your opponent in this case, and making a decision based on who they think is more likely to be telling the truth. Now, you may say that's unfair. Why don't they look at the evidence? Well, they do. Okay, most judges who are doing their jobs will also look at the evidence. They'll look at what's written down, what's on paper, what's on text, what's in front of them. But oftentimes they're forming their first impression, if nothing more, than your demeanor, how you appear in court. And when you come to court in a calm and willingness to be civil, not trying to attack the other side, not yelling and screaming, you're that much more likely to give off a better first impression of the judge. And this video demonstrates that. Here you have a small claims court judge in Arizona who's saying that very thing, really remove the emotional element. And I've talked about this in earlier videos where it's not always so easy. It's easier said than done because right across from you or next to you, depending on the layout of the court, is somebody who's, in your view anyways, completely screwed you over, has owed you money for who knows how long, and it can be difficult to contain your emotions. And that's why it's important to watch videos like this to understand that this is so important, that if you take the time beforehand to really ready yourself and compose yourself before you get into the small claims courtroom, then you're that much more in a better position to succeed. Once you start getting into emotional attacks, you may think you're sort of showing that you're really angry, right? Like I've had a lot of clients in the past when I was working as a small claims court lawyer say to me, well, if I don't show my disapproval, then the judge is going to think I'm agreeing with the other side. No, it's not like that at all. Ultimately, the judge just wants to see that you're the type of person who's reasonable, because reasonable people can be messed over. But if the judge thinks you're not a reasonable type of person, the judge can think, for example, well, I could totally understand why the relationship broke down between these two parties. Look at this guy in front of me. I mean, he just can't control himself. So this judge says it, and I've said it to you time and again in my videos. You definitely want to leave that emotional element at the door, surrender it, or keep it in check, depending on how you want to approach it. If you're more of the spiritual type, you can say you surrender that emotional aspect to it. It's not to say that you can't have emotions. It's really how you react to them, how you respond to them. Really let go of those and really allow yourself to focus on what's in front of you. Let's keep on going in this video.
Most of the time, the dispute is, we agreed to this, and the other party says, no, we agreed to this. Without anything written down, we're start trying to figure out which case is more, or which side is the more probable case. Have everything organized. They have cases more, or which side is the more probable case.
Okay, so this is interesting. Here the judge is talking about the fact that oftentimes parties are coming to court without any evidence, right? It's kind of a he said, she said, and the judge is really trying to determine who's telling the truth. This ties into what I said before about keeping your emotions in check, but it also has to do with understanding just how crucial it is to have your evidence that you need to help you win your case. Because yes, I just finished saying that your first impression can be very important for the judge, but that doesn't mean that that's going to necessarily win it for you just like that. A lot of times judges, after forming that first impression, will want to say to themselves, okay, well, what is the evidence telling me? What do the documents say? What is the testimony of the witnesses? How does that affect what I believe to be the truth in what transpired here? And I have to work my way through all this. So the best way you're going to put yourself in a position to win is making sure you come to court with that evidence. Don't assume that just because you know what happened in the circumstances and you know the chronology backwards and forwards that the judge is going to know it. You have to be able to come with receipts, as the common saying goes these days on all sorts of YouTube channels that I watch. Okay, and without those receipts, without that evidence, without those photographs, without those documents, without the text messages, the emails, etc., you're going to be in that much more of a difficult position to win. Whereas if you understand that you're coming to court not just to talk about what happened, but also to demonstrate for the judge, to evidence for the judge what happened, you'll be in that much more of a better position to win. So this judge very rightly makes the point that not only is it important to stick to the facts and remove that emotional element to the best of your ability, it's also super important to come with receipts, to come with that evidence to prove your case. Now let's carry on with one more tip the judge gives in this video.
Have everything organized. They have a checklist. Here's the points I want to make. Here's the evidence I want to present.
I love this because here the judge talks about having a checklist. And if you watched my earlier videos, I talk about the idea of having an evidence book or an evidence brief. Okay, so again, aside from me personally and my ego feeling pretty vindicated and validated that what I'm saying is something that's echoed by this judge here, and you have to remember the judge had a very limited time in this interview to describe what he feels are the best tips. And one of those tips that the judge decided was to say, have a checklist of what it is that you're going to present in front of the judge. Okay, so the idea of organization, making sure that not only are you keeping yourself calm and composed, but you're also making sure that you come to court with those receipts and evidence. And then finally, making sure that that evidence is put together in an organized way. The judge calls it a checklist. I've called it an evidence brief. That evidence brief will have that index of different pieces of evidence that you will demonstrate to the judge as the trial goes on. And that will allow you to be more organized. And when you're more organized, the judge can much better understand you, as opposed to if you're kind of all over the place and you're pulling from here and you're pulling from there, and this judge is saying, and this, you're saying this, and this party is saying this, and you're kind of haphazard. It's much harder for the judge to make a clear determination of what happened. Don't forget the judges are seeing many, many cases on a daily basis. Okay, some judges have seen or heard thousands upon thousands of cases in their careers as small claims court judges. So you really want to make sure that you're organized about how you go about presenting your evidence so that the judge has a clear means to that finish line, if you will, a clear means to that finish line of finding in your favor so that you can win your small claims court case. Okay, now I'm just going to get out of this video. Okay, so I just thought that little snippet from this video that I happened to stumble across was so helpful because it really provides an insight into what it is that judges are looking for from you to help you win your case. And just to do a brief summary, once again, number one, the judge is looking for you to stay composed and be polite and civil and professional. It doesn't mean professional in that you have to be an attorney. In fact, this whole video is entitled, not my video, the video I just showed you is entitled How to Win Without an Attorney. So I'm not suggesting that you have to be professional, meaning you have to act like a lawyer, but the more you kind of position yourself as the type of professional who doesn't get rattled easily and who isn't yelling and screaming and shouting, the better you're going to present in front of the judge. And marketing, as we know, is very important, and marketing yourself in a small claims court case can be very crucial. So that was the first thing the judge said. The second thing the judge said was to understand that you need to often, if not always, demonstrate what you're claiming is true. And the way you do that is by coming with receipts, is coming with that evidence, whether it's written down or testimony of witnesses. I've talked about that in earlier videos. So the judge reminds you over here that that's super crucial, because how else does the judge know who's telling the truth? Rather than just being a he said, she said type of situation, coming with receipts and evidence to small claims court and being ready with that will put you in a much better position to win. And finally, tied to all that is the idea of being organized about it. The judge called it a checklist. I've called it in an earlier video, an evidence brief, a book of evidence, however you want to call it. It should have an index. It should be very organized. Again, nobody's expecting you to do the same type of job that a lawyer would do in a higher court case necessarily. And I say necessarily because not all lawyers are so excellent, but even the best lawyers, you can sort of emulate, you can model their behavior, as Tony Robbins would call it, by having that evidence organized so that you can take the judge through the chronology of what happened and cross-reference that with all the evidence that you'll show the judge from your evidence brief. And I've mentioned this in earlier videos. When you do this, if you juxtapose that to the other side, your opponent not doing it, you're, again, that much more in a better position to win. Of course, it's possible your opponent will have watched this video and do the same thing, and that's all the more reason why you should. Otherwise, you're going to be behind the 8 ball versus your opponent. So I hope you found that video helpful, seeing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, as I started off this video by saying, hearing what a judge has to say about what it takes to win in small claims court. If you have any feedback about that, any comments, any questions, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. As this channel continues to grow, it will become increasingly difficult for me to read every single comment, but right now, as of the recording in December 2024, the channel is still relatively new and in its infancy, and there's a much better chance if you leave a comment that I'll be able to address it, perhaps even in a future video, if not right in the comment section by way of a response. That's not to say I'm giving you specific legal advice, but just generally, if I feel it's something that could be beneficial to the entire audience of the Mr. Small Claims Court YouTube channel, then I would love to hear from you and share that with everybody. Once again, if you have not yet subscribed, I would be grateful if you took a moment to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a future video. It definitely helps me. There's no question about that. It helps me to continue to produce videos just like this. Also encourages me, but it also helps you to win your small claims court case. As always, I thank you for visiting and looking forward to seeing you at the next video. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found that video helpful for winning your small claims court lawsuit, then you're not going to want to miss a future video. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. It takes a second so that you don't miss a future video to help you win your small claims court lawsuit.